Thank you for joining us again this week for another episode of Help, Nobody Told Me. I'm Jasmine Shapiro. I'm a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, and I'm joined with my teammate, Jordan Kagan. He is the man of silver. And Jordan, you personally know our guest.
I've known Becky Freiman a number of years. She founded and is the director of Greater Chicago Music Therapy. It's a private practice. She serves adults with dementia, neurological disorders, neurodiversity, and those in hospice care. And as I like to say, her goal in life, and she was given a gift to help those using music to put a smile on their face. So thank you for joining us today, Becky.
Thank you for having me here.
So, can you give us a little bit of a description of your background and your experience and how you came into music therapy?
Sure. So my story coming into music therapy, I think, is very similar to a lot of other music therapists in that we have strong backgrounds as musicians and loving music and also loving being with people and sharing music with people. And so when I was in college, I majored in music performance and psychology, and had learned that there's this field called music therapy that combines the two. And I mean, I thought it was made for me because it was combining my two passions. And so I went on in graduate school to study music therapy. And I think, again, that's the story of a lot of music therapists. We all are trained musicians. We all have to have strong backgrounds in a primary instrument, whether that's voice. Mine was the oboe. And then we go on and study specifically music therapy, psychology, biology, statistics, research, counseling, and get to have music with people and be with people. And I mean, that's how I landed in the field.
So I know you explained what it takes to become a music therapist. Can you bring us into maybe a typical day or a session of what that looks like, working with your clients?
Yeah. So maybe I'll tell you both. So to become a music therapist, you have to have at least a bachelor's degree in music therapy specifically. And music therapists have to also have 1,200 hours of supervised clinical practice through their schooling, as well as an internship when they're done with their classes. And then we sit for a board exam to earn our credentials. And then there's also continuing ed, which is really common in a lot of the fields in elder care. And so a typical day for a music therapist can look like a lot of different things. There are music therapists that might work in one facility. My first job was on staff at a skilled nursing care community. So I was in the same building all day, and I would go to the different units and see people individually and see people in groups. And that could be a music therapist day. But other music therapists, like my team now, we're a mobile practice, and so we travel to our clients. And so we might have an individual who lives at home with their partner or their spouse, and then we might go. Our next stop might be a memory care community where we're seeing the residents on a specific unit for a group focused on wellness type goals like social interaction, engagement, stimulation. Then we might go on back to a different place where we're seeing a hospice patient, wherever they are, whether it's at home or another community, a nursing home. And then we might end our day at a day program where people are dropping off their loved ones who live at home, but they're there for respite for the day because they have dementia. So a day in the life of a music therapist can look like a lot of things, whether we're at one site or we're traveling to lots of different sites, but we're with people and we're with our clients and we're making music with them to actively engage them in the therapy process.
So are you performing for them, or are they performing with you, or how does that look?
Great question. So So I would say that we are actively using music with them to engage them in the process with us. So it's not as much of a performance, especially, but it's more about the process and the actual music making that is happening in the moment. And so if someone can engage with us in something like singing or songwriting or talking with us about the lyrics or moving to the music, and not all of our clients are able to do that. And so then the experience might be more receptive, where they are receiving the music and responding in a way. But what we're doing with the music is really tailored to address their specific therapy needs in lots of different domains of functioning, which gets into a little bit of the what is music therapy. Yes. Because there's a lot of confusion about what is music therapy. A lot of people think that we are just going to play music for people, and sometimes it's confusing because music therapy can look like that. Years ago, I had a client who was in a skilled nursing home and was new there and was not happy about having to move there. I've yet to meet someone who says, when I grew up, I dreamed of living in a nursing home. That was my goal, right? So they were having trouble accepting, their new living situation. They had a lot of depression. They had beginning stages of dementia. She also had a difficult background. She'd been a victim of a lot of abuse and trauma and had very low self-esteem, and was, told me that I shouldn't waste my time with her because she just wasn't even worth my time. But I had my guitar with me, and she was curious about it, and she said, I always wanted to play guitar, but I'm not good at anything. I can't do anything. Mm-hmm. So I challenged that, and she, the first time she made a sound on the guitar by herself, she was so excited, and then went on to brag to people about how good she was at guitar. So anybody walking by that session, it looked like we're just playing music, right? It looked like I was teaching her guitar. It's a guitar lesson. But the reason I was doing what I was doing with her was to increase her self-esteem, get her to connect, get her to see that there, it was worth my time, that she is worthy of attention and time, and to help her get out into the community and connect. And so that's the kind of the tricky thing about music therapy, because it doesn't look like therapy, right? Because we're using music, which is a great way to engage people who are also resistant to therapy. Right. But I think that's one of the great things about it is that it doesn't look like therapy, but that's what we're doing.
And do you only work with seniors, or, I know we were talking earlier and you said there was somebody in her 40s that...
Yes, so music therapists in general work with people from the time they're born until the end of life. So you'll see music therapists working in schools, neonatal intensive care units, but my team specifically works only with adults. But we'll see adults who have dementia, who sometimes they're older and sometimes there's early onset, and we're seeing people in late 40s, 50s.
That's what you were saying.
Yeah. We also, my team also works with people who have other neurological disorders like multiple sclerosis or post-stroke recovery. We also work with people that are in hospice care, and we work with adults with who are neurodiverse, developmental intellectual disabilities. And so really we work with adults of all ages.
That's great. What are some common misconceptions about music therapy? I think you started on a couple of them.
Yeah. I think the misconceptions are just a great way to kind of further understand what it is. One of the biggest misconceptions is that you have to be good at music and be talented or even have prior experience in music to benefit from music therapy. And I think it certainly helps if our clients like music because they're going to be more motivated to participate with us. But I always say, like, you do not need to have prior experience. You don't need to know how to, play an instrument. We are not getting ready to go to Carnegie Hall.
Right.
That's not the goal. And so you don't have to have prior music experience or have been a musician. Another kind of misconception is that we just listen to music or perform music.
That's what I asked you. I thought that was it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That we perform music or we listen to music that you like and it can calm you down, or that listening to music. And certainly listening to music is beneficial. It's therapeutic. We might use it in a very functional, purposeful way, but listening to preferred music in and of itself isn't therapy. And I think it kind of reminds me of the difference between taking a walk and walking with a physical therapist and being in physical therapy, right? A physical therapist might walk with someone and use walking in their session, just like you might go walk the dog or take a walk with a friend. Right. And both are good and both are beneficial, but the physical therapist is going to be taking it to the next level, looking at certain things in the gait pattern, looking at the stride length, looking at the velocity, all the things physical therapists do, and adjusting and making, working with that person toward a specific functional physical goal. And that's what we're doing with music. We're working on specific goals. And so that's kind of a misconception, especially because, again, music therapy doesn't look like therapy. It looks like we're listening to music, or I'm teaching a guitar lesson, or performing. Another kind of misconception too is that music therapy is used just for activity or entertainment, and certainly those are really important needs of, especially thinking about older adults who can't get out to a concert anymore, or can't, their dementia maybe is, if they have dementia, it's progressed so much that they can't, go to the social hall to enjoy a game of bingo anymore. And we can come in and help structure music experiences for them to be successful at engaging and participating and responding to the highest level that they can. And so in a way that is similar to activity, but it's already kind of broaching a different level of, because we're really tailoring what we're doing with the music, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, to help them be able to participate successfully. And then one more misconception is that we use the same music for everyone, that it's prescriptive. So like if you're, feeling kind of agitated or you're working with someone who has a lot of anxiety, you should just give them 2 Mozarts and have them call you tomorrow. And that's not how it works. It's really important for us to use their preferred music, because then they're going to be more motivated to participate with us. But it's also important for us to be thinking about the musical elements and how they're responding and adjust accordingly. If someone has speech and communication challenges, we can slow the music down, speed it up. We can take out the words and just sing la la la. We can really adapt to help them be able to meet their goals.
And if people are resistant at the beginning, by the end of your session, are they smiling like they had a great time and they kind of conquered that fear or that resistance?
Yeah, I think, there is sometimes hesitation because, asking someone to sing with you, right, or, handing someone a drum or percussion instrument can certainly be very intimidating. Yeah. And, we try to present it in a very supportive way. It's also people's choice whether or not they join in with us. We're never going to make someone sing. But usually we're able to get past that resistance to find the joy and to find the opportunity to be in the music together.
And we were talking earlier, and I was saying, Tony Bennett was an example of somebody who performed for I don't know how many years, and then he had dementia, but yet he was still able to perform with Lady Gaga, and he knew all of his songs.
Yeah, isn't it amazing how,
Yeah.
Especially with dementia, people can be so successful with music, and it has a lot to do with, for someone like Tony Bennett, who I think, it's like that was his identity. He's
Right.
a singer. That's like what came naturally to him, and it's like those rehearsed things. Like if I sing like "You Are My Son." Right, you can't help but
Yeah.
finish the words because
Right.
you know it so well.
Right.
And also the way music is processed in the brain, is really advantageous because there's not really a music center in the brain. And so, when we think of like speech and language are really very much like a left side brain process. And, music kind of like activates and lights up the whole brain and really gets the brain working together in sync in a really unique way. There's neurological principles. There's one called the Habian principle that talks about how neurons that fire together will wire together. And music kind of like organizes that and sparks that. So I don't know if you've ever, been at a concert or been in your car and noticed that you're like, tapping on the steering wheel or tapping your feet and you don't even notice it.
Right.
That's that automatic response. And on a neural level, that's happening. And so music really primes our brains to work in the best way possible. And it can also bypass damaged areas. And so because there's not like a music center in the brain, the brain compensates and there's neuroplasticity happening even at our older ages to really compensate for those damaged areas like post-stroke or with different dementia processes.
Must be really fascinating looking at a brain scan,
Right.
if possible, during music therapy.
Yes, and there's research that is happening where they're putting people in MRI machines and watching how the brain responds to music. Like the commercials. This is your brain on drugs. This is your
Right.
brain on. They're looking at that, and research is out there that really shows the different parts of the brain responding to music.
We all know it takes more muscles to frown than to smile. And music makes people smile. So I saw a video this past week. Showed two sides to a room. It was obviously a senior community, and you looked like you had instructors on one side of the room, and other side of the room was definitely residents. I'm not sure if they were both sides residents or one maybe was like a group from a local senior center that came in. They were basically doing like cheer movements, cheer exercises. The song was Celebration, and they were singing along. Is that the kind of thing where maybe a music therapist leads a class where there's also some motion involved?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Raise your right arm, raise your left arm.
Yeah, we love incorporating movement because movement can be another way for people to express themselves, especially after speech and language have started to be more difficult as different disease processes go on. We can also help not only with expressive movement and just finding ways to I keep using the word connect. It's like one of my favorite words about music therapy.
Yeah.
But I think about a recent session one of my team members facilitated with a husband and wife who got up and were dancing
Aww.
with each other. And the wife has pretty advanced dementia, and their anniversary was coming up, and so there they were dancing, like they used to. But on the other side of that too, we can also use music to help with very specific functional goals. We have a group at one of our sites where one of our team members co-treats with an occupational therapist on their short-term rehab floor to work on the goals in occupational therapy and to use music as the motivator as well as the intervention itself. There are really great techniques with Parkinson's as well, using music for gait training, and so yes, the answer is yes. Music and movement.
Tailor it to whatever the situation is.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, I think you're going to show us an example, right?
Yeah. I would love to share just a little quick song. We always end our sessions with a song just to say thank you for having us here, and thank you for being together. And so we always end with a little goodbye. But I've changed the words.
Okay.
So the words to this are about music therapy.
Okay.
So maybe you'll help me fill them in, and we can fill them in together.
We needed Shannon here. She has a voice.
You can just say them. That's okay.
Right.
Just shout them out.
You do not want me to sing.
No. I love when everyone sings.
You're an opera singer compared to me.
There's no pressure.
Okay.
No pressure.
Okay.
See?
All right, we got this.
Yep. Here we go. Music's used as a
Tool.
Yeah, in music therapy. There's no music center in the
Brain.
Yeah, it's processed globally. Music is something
Therapeutic.
Yeah, and that's why it works, you see. Music preference varies individually. Music therapy isn't the same as entertainment lessons or
Activity.
Yeah. Music therapy is evidence-based and goal-oriented. Yeah. And I thank you for having me here with great sincerity.
Thank you, Becky. I couldn't have sung it any better myself.
You got it all correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Becky, we will have all of your contact information in our show notes. So if
Wonderful.
anybody would like to reach out to you, they will know how to get a hold of you.
Wonderful, yes. And there are hopefully some additional resources too, besides Greater Chicago Music Therapy, to be in touch with the American Music Therapy Association and our Illinois State Association.
So we will link all of that to our show notes.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
And we thank you all for joining us today. And we
I hope to see you next week.
next week on another episode of Help
Nobody Told Me.